Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday to each and every one of you. Hey, what are we doing today? We are finishing up this beauty. We started the Jewel Box Quilt last week, and this week I'm focusing on the piano border. I know a lot of people have questions about piano border, so that's our focus. Now, if you will notice, we do have a smaller border on the inside. Before we begin, before I even go more into this, I first want to say on November 1, we hit 1,000 subscribers. Whoop, whoop. I mean, this is party time. I mean, thank you all so very much for your continued support and liking and sharing and subscribing this channel. It is so much appreciated. It helps us a lot to be able to grow our online quilt shop and reach more people to give more inspirations out there. So at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about, we are going to do a small giveaway. So at the end of the video, I'll talk about it again, but it is our way to say thank you. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the Halo team. We so appreciate it. Okay, so I do want to mention that I did update the supply sheet. I don't know where my brain was. Well, obviously it wasn't. It wasn't working. So there's a few updates to it. The update is that it actually does finish about 61 by 61. And because of that, you'll need 3.5 yards for backing instead of 3 yards, but you will still need half a yard for binding. So all of that I updated inside. So if you've got yours, I try to let a couple people know who let me know that they were looking for it. And I tried to let you know that I did do an update, but just in case you missed it, you're hearing it now. So, all right, now a couple other things. On the coloring sheet and on the grayscale, you will notice that there are a piano key. Don't count those slits. The software that I use wouldn't go any bigger, any more. I think there are 24 on there. It actually requires more. So you can't count the little piano keys because the system wouldn't let me manipulate that. I'll have to figure out a different way to do that in the future. But so don't count the grayscale and don't count the coloring sheet because those piano keys along the borders, they're not the right number. Okay. I also will tell you, I went round and round with this. I hate piecemealing videos. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves. But in order to keep this a little shorter, and because we're really focusing on the piano keys, I did not do any part of the video about this smaller border. I'll give you a little bit of information, and I will tell you, I'll put a link in our bookshelf quilt not this July, but the July further back. So July of 2020, I believe. I'll put a link. I think it's over here. I'll put a link for that video. So if you want to see more specifically on how to do that border and how I do all my borders, the link will be there for you. Now, I will say, I'm going to throw this up. I did have my husband take a little picture of me. I'm in my PJs working on that small border. So in a room that we were able to utilize. That's one of the perks of being a quilter, right? You get to quilt in your PJs. I mean, who doesn't love quilting in PJs? However, that's just a little fun. Now, what I will tell you, I really struggled with this video too, because we've moved down here into 2 rooms in our basement. And I don't have a large table to be able to span things out for you for the video purposes as of yet, because we're still organizing and doing different things. And I just didn't know where I was going to do everything. I do have that sunroom, which is where I was for that picture. And but there's no furniture in it. And there's one piece of furniture, and so it's the sound would be terrible, absolutely terrible. And then I don't have an overhead for you to see down on top. So we will be working that out for future videos, but at any rate, I took several different pictures. I also have people working on our chimney from the electrical storm, so some of my pictures may have some different lighting, but I am restricted to places and time to be able to take those pictures at this moment, but I wanted this video out, so you're going to see some of those things. So I'm going to just talk real quick about this small border. I will tell you the math, all the yardage that I talked about, and the size. That is a 2-inch finished border. So what I ended up having to do was I cut 6.5-inch, no, 6 2.5-inch strips with the fabric for those borders. It actually takes like just a smidge more than 5, but you know, we can't, you know, have pretend fabric. So it does take 6. And that of course will depend a lot about how much of your width of fabric that you're able to use. That does change a little bit for different people. But mostly speaking, I do the math off of 40. Because that's the typical work inches. 40 inches width of fabric is the typical work that you can play with. So 6 2.5-inch strips, and that gave us a 2-inch finished inside the smaller border. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. Again, just so y'all know, if you're interested, we do have this fabric in our shop. I used one 10-inch layer cake for the whole kit and caboodle. I actually have a few 10-inch squares left because I didn't use any black. So all the black's left in there. But if you're interested in it, the line is called Chickadoodle Doo by Poppy Cotton, and it is so adorable. So it gave my jewel box a little country farm vintage feel. And the colors are awesome. I really enjoy those colors. So that's what I use. Well, it's not a layer cake. It's one 10-inch square pack because layer cake is Moda, right? All right. And then the 2 yards of fabric that I used, that was for the complete topper here. That included the 2-inch small border. That is Blossom Tone on Tone White by Riley Blake Designs. So we do have both those in the store if you're interested in any of that. Okay, well, we are good to go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually walk you through how to construct your own, if you were trying to do a piano border for your own quilt. I'm going to show you how I do it. Using some graph paper and how to get around the math, right? So I'm going to pull you in and do that first. So that way you have that arsenal in your resources and that you can always figure out no matter what size quilt you have. I mean, if it's a rectangle, if it's a square, it works. So I will definitely get that going now. And yeah, I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so I wanted to show you all how exactly to figure out how many strips to do. I will say this one, if you remember correctly, the center is 48 inches, so that is divisible by 2. So that's where I came up with the 2-inch width. And if you will have to cut them at 2.5 because you'll lose the 1/2 inch in your seam, right? So divisible by 2. So that's why I came up with that number. So I'm going to take you over here and I'm going to show you how I draw this out. I did use graph paper and I am using a Sharpie so you can see it. So let me go ahead and take you in. All right. So what I've done, this is the center, and I have counted out 24 blocks. Each block is worth 2 inches. Okay. So 24 times 2 is 48. And I've done that 24 across, 24 down. Okay. Gave myself a nice square. Now I also have this border, and our border was 2 inches. Okay. So I've got going down one side, down the other, and then of course across. So that's our 2-inch border. So now what we're going to do, like I said, each square is worth 2 inches, okay? And I'm going to say we're going to do a 4-inch finish. We're just going to say 4 inches. It really doesn't matter what you end up doing if you're doing a 6.5 inch. I thought these blocks will finish at 4, and I thought that would look really nice with this size quilt. But if I had a larger quilt, I might want to do a longer strip, okay? So sometimes you hear about them being 6.5 inches. I've seen them short as 3. But these are my cornerstones, if you remember. Well, no, I guess we haven't at this point. I am going to put in some cornerstones. So they will be each 4 inches also. Now we would simply just connect this, okay, all the way around. All right. Now I'm not the best drawer, guys, so bear with me. So then we would just simply, these are going to be our piano keys, right? Now I do have a square, so it should be equal on all 4 sides. But I would draw a line for each piano. And this is exactly what I do when I'm trying to do some math. And I don't want to have to count a whole bunch, right? And I'll do it down here because I can see it better down here. Because the top and the bottom should be the same. Now, to make sure I don't get confused, I might color in a little bit here for my cornerstones. All right. But we're just trying to get an idea. Nothing has to be perfect as far as your lines go or anything. We're just sketching it out so we can just simply count. All right, so we've got, now I'm just going to simply count down the side. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So we've got 26 going up and down. Should be the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 going across. So that tells you exactly how many strips that you'll need to cut for your piano border. Okay, so in the future, you can figure out your own now if you've never known how to do that. It's not hard. The graph paper makes it really, really easy. And so does working in, divisible of 2, right? I have cut 1.5 inch thick strips. Of course, I could have done 3, but it was a really small quilt. And it was something that can be divided by 3. So I ended up making them 1.5 finished, right? So you always have to think about where you're going. This was 48 in the center, so it was divided by 2. Very easy. But when we cut these strips, they need to be cut at 2.5 because we're going to lose that 1/2 inch. So 1/4 inch on one side and 1/4 inch in the other. That will make it so it finishes at 2 inches. So that's how we figure this out. So now that we know we got to cut 26 for each side, okay? I do tell you this later. 26 times 4 is 100 and, is that right? 8, 9, 10, 6, 12, 18. Yeah, that's correct. Oh, you can't see what I did. I just did the math real quick. So that is exactly how I figured that out. But now that we know that we need 104 of these, I'm going to take you to our cutting board because I did use more of that 10-inch square pack. I was able to do all of them with the 10-inch square pack, including our 4, well, they start off as 5. So including our 5-inch cornerstones that will finish at 4. No, they'll finish at 4.5, won't they? Yes, they will. Look at that. 5 minus a half. No, minus a quarter. Minus a quarter. Yeah, I'll finish at 4.5. Along with all my strips, they'll all finish at 4.5 coming out. So at any rate, the bottom line is I'm going to show you I cut 5-inch by 2.5-inch strips, 104 of them, and I cut 5-inch cornerstones, 4 of those, all using the rest of that 10-inch square pack that we started this with last week. So I'm going to take you to the cutting board and I'm going to show you how it's done. See you guys in just a sec. Okay, here we are back at the cutting board. Now, as y'all saw, we need 26. What I'm using are 2.5-inch by 5-inch strips for the piano keys. And like I talked about, I'm using more of that 10-inch square pack. So one 10-inch square pack is going to get me through this entire quilt along with the background fabric. The first thing I did was I chose 4 5-inch squares. I cut those out of already from what I had. So we have 4 5-inch squares. Those are going to be the cornerstones. Okay. So I also chose 7 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I've chosen 7 colors based off of what I had left over. Notice again, I left out black. You can put it in there. I just, it's all your own design. You know, what you find works for you. And I try to do this in a way that I actually took a picture of this because I'd like them to continue in this manner because I feel like the colorways gave enough distinction between each of the keys. So we're going to need to cut a total of 104. 26 for each side. Okay, so what I'm doing, put this over here. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never shown you on YouTube that sometimes I use a Stripology ruler. I've been using them a lot for 2.5-inch strips, like you know, once you cut from yardage with the fabric, that's basically all I've been using for it. But I did find that I thought I'd get brave, and I do have the extra large, which we do carry in the shop, and there's a million zillion things you can do with this ruler. GE Designs, Gutrid, she does a wonderful job explaining all the things. She's actually the designer, and she did it for Creative Grids. So this is a Creative Grids ruler. So it has all the wonderful things that Creative Grids has to offer. So I'm just simply laying this down, and I want to cut 2.5-inch strips. Okay. So this ruler actually has slits inside of the ruler that you use with your rotary blade. So I have lined this up. I'm trying to make sure that we're straight. There's all kinds of lines to guide you to make sure that you've got what it is that you need to be straight. Okay, now this is supposed to be a 10-inch square, but y'all know that not all 10-inch squares are equal. So some of them are a little bigger than 10-inch, and some of them are right on, especially with all the little pinking edges, but this is going to work and it's going to be fine. So I'm basically going to, there's all these 0, half, 1, half, 2, half, 3, all the way across. You can go up to 20 inches minus 10. So I'm going to start with the 2.5 after I've lined this all up, making sure I look as straight as possible. And I'm just going to give it a slice. And then again at 5. And then again at 7.5. And then I'll just clean up the 10-inch from the pinking. Okay. So what we'll have are 2.5 by 10-inch strips. Now you could just leave this and then simply take another ruler and cut down the middle, but I just wanted to show you how nice this really is. Okay, so there we have, and you could actually use you can line these up again, making sure it's straight as possible, and then just cut a 5-inch. Or you can take each one and take another ruler, which I don't know where my 6.5 is at this present time. So I'm just going to take a regular old 6.5 by 24.5. No judging here. All right, I'm going to line up on the 5-inch mark, making sure I'm straight along the bottom. And then we have 2 5-inch strips, just like that, 2.5 by 5.5. However it is that you want to cut yours. Like I said, you can line them all up and cut them all. You can turn, when they cut them in the strips, you can just turn your ruler and cut 1 5-inch mark. But bottom line, no matter how you cut them, you're going to get 8 2.5 by 5-inch strips per 10-inch square pack. Okay. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm still straight. Straight is key when you're doing the panikies, along with the right size for each. But you'll get 8 of these for each one of your 10-inch squares. We need 26 for each side and 104 total. So that's cutting these up. I'll come back at you in just a sec after I get all of mine cut for the next step. See you then. Okay, so I have cut all my 2.5 by 5-inch strips. Just a couple of things of how I like to do these things. Of course, you could just one by one put them all together, but you know, I'm always trying to find, this is actually not the most efficient way to make a piano border, but because we use a 10-inch square pack, this is what we've done. So I got them all laid out. This is actually these are 4 strips is what we're making, 1 for the left, 1 for the right, and 1 for the top and 1 for the bottom. Now I said they were each 26 long, correct? So on 2 of them, I will add the left and right first. I won't figure out which one's left and which one's right until I get them all made. But then I will lay it out and I will figure out which one's left, which one's right. And then on the top and bottom ones is where I will add a 5-inch square at the beginning and at the end. Now I don't know which ones will go where until I lay it all out, because that's just how I work. But I want to show you how I've started to piece these together. So let me move these over. Okay. So basically, ooh, that just blinded you out. So basically I sew 2 together, and then eventually I would sew another 2 together. Once I have the 2s together, I will sew them into 4. Okay, now I do tend to press as I go, but you're not required to. And I am pressing all in the same direction. You can press them open, although it's on a border, so that always makes me nervous. You can press 1 to the left, 1 to the right, but I am basically, oh, look, I got to redo that one. Pressing them all to the same direction. So once I have 2s together, then what I do, that means I'll have 4. Let's see, did I do this one better? This one's better. See how they're all going the same direction? All right. So I'll have 4s together, and then I'll take 4s and I will sew those together to make 8. And then of course, once I have 8s together, all going the same direction, then I'll sew the 8s together, and I'll just add to it until I have 26. Okay. So that's basically how I did these. Plain and simple. Now I want you to notice something else too. Let me turn this up just one more time. Notice all my pinking edges are on one side. Remember I said not all 10-inch square packs are equal. So you'll have some pinking that is less than others. So you have an option. I put them all in the same end. And I'm actually going to put mine in my binding. If you want a straight edge, so the straight edge here is going to go to my current border, okay? That smaller border. I'm going to add this side to it. However, if you want a straight edge to help you square your quilt, then you may want to put this on the other side, okay? Just something I thought about, and I'm deciding to keep it on the outside of my quilt so I have a nice straight line to sew my border onto. So I wanted to give a little heads up with that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just piece all these 2x2s, then to 4s, then to 8s, and then whatever's left over I'll sew on the ends. And now if you notice, I have 2 of the flowers. I went ahead and left it. I could have reorganized, but it is what it is, and I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with it, then it might be something that you'd want to switch around. But saying that, this is how I'm going to put this together. So I'll see you guys in just a bit. Okay, I wanted to bring you in, and I knew this was going to happen because of the pinking. Kind of throws everything off a little bit for me. Some people have no problem with it, but it always messes with my head. But sometimes this actually happens, and it has nothing to do with pinking. If your 1/4 inch seam is off, if you didn't cut right, when you have all these little strips, anything can happen. So sometimes this happens and sometimes it doesn't. And I'm glad that it did, because now I get to show you what I do about it. So let me throw up a picture right here. And as you see, I don't measure my quilts. And the only time I measure them is for you guys to make sure that I tell you what I got, right? But other than that, I threw one of the strips along the center. And as you will see, it was a little longer. It happens with piano keyboarders. It is not the end of the world. And then the idea is, okay, so what do we do? Well, you could cut that extra off right there. You could. It'll be really skinny, so you may not like the way that it looks. So what do I do to fix that? Well, I'm going to bring you in up here, and I'm going to show you what I've done. Okay, got too many buttons. So, all right. Here is the strip that you saw, and I want to show you what I've done, okay? So what we got here is on 3 of my strips, I did this on 2 parts. And on this one, I think I did 3, but one's really, really small. So let me show you what I've done. When we fold this over, I'm looking for something to point out stuff here for you, but this is my original seam right here. I went ahead and sewed another one right over it, okay, behind it. Now, so basically what I've done is I brought this into the sewing machine, or yeah, brought it back to the sewing machine. And again, this is my original seam, but I needed to take a little from it, right? And it's not a 1/4 inch, it's not a 1/2 inch, it's not an 1/8 inch, it's just a straight extra. And I went ahead and sewed right along there for another seam. So it made it, when you open this up, and like I said, I've done it to, this strip I think is done on 3. One is much skinnier than that. The other one's about the same. And then all the other ones I've done on 2. Okay. All right. So what it'll do is, yeah, they look, now that I've told you, you can actually see that they may be, this is the seam. This is the extra seam in here. Okay. So you can tell here, this one's a little bigger. This one is supposed to be a little bigger, but it's pretty darn close. The whole point is, ain't nobody gonna know. Okay, it'll look intentional if they figure it out, because there's a couple of them and I actually picked some of the same colors on each strip so that it would look kind of intentional. But that's what I do to correct it. Okay. So now, as far as the ones with the cornerstones, I did go ahead and put the cornerstones on the ends. Okay. And I can throw a picture up here right now that will show you that I actually did it before I added anything, and they kind of hang off that edge, but that's not a real great indicator. So I put the left and the right on, the vertical ones on, and then I laid those out again for the top and bottom with the cornerstones, and I make sure that everything does in fact fit. And I throw another picture up here for you. And I want you to understand that, because I did not mess with the cornerstone seams. When I'm taking seams, I'm taking them within the piano keys, okay? If I need to do that, I'm taking it in there so that my cornerstones look correct both directions, okay? So it doesn't look off. But I wanted to give you a heads up, because I know, there's a lot of times when you have multi-piece borders. Maybe you have 2.5-inch squares, and you're doing 2.5-inch squares around a border. You can do the same concept if it's just a little longer. Stuff happens, but there's no reason to scratch it and start over. This is an easy way to fix it, and it doesn't look drastically wrong. Okay. So I know, the first time I made a piano key border, it came out perfect. And I used 1.5-inch strips. I don't know how, but it did. So then when it did finally happen, it was like, oh, it does. Stuff happens. So there's how you correct it. So let me get this all finished up, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay, all of the borders are on here along with my little cornerstones. Yep. I actually love how this turned out. And I got the seal of approval from my daughter. I sent her a picture of it, and she absolutely loves the colors. Nope, Tam, you can't have it. But yes, it's all done. Another quilt to add to the list to be quilted. I'm still waiting on 2 parts. I will tell you, Fabric Hut has been absolutely wonderful, and we should be getting the 2 new parts here very soon, so I can get all the quilts that need to be quilted, right? How am I going to quilt this? I have no earthly idea. I'll let you know in the future when I get it done. I will let you know. It'll be some quilting inspiration. I've got robotics on me now, so I kind of want to play, but I will tell you, I will probably stitch in the ditch the piano border. I think it's either that or you ignore all the seams and you do something else in there, because there is some width. So I might end up doing something different. I'll let you all know. But in my head, I'm thinking stitch in the ditch for the piano border. We will see. We will see. But I hope this was helpful. I'm telling you, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, don't hesitate to drop them down below. I will definitely get back at you. And I also wanted, I told you earlier, I don't typically measure except for you guys. And I will tell you, mine actually finishes about 1/4 of an inch off, bigger. Okay. Yeah, about 1/4 of an inch total bigger. It happens. It is what it is. You just don't want wavy borders, right? You don't want something happening on the outs. When you get this quilted, you don't want to see the wavy border. So it's very important. Again, I do encourage you to watch a video that I talked about at the beginning, where I really was able to go into a little bit more depth. And I put that link in the beginning, but it'll be, if you click on the little eye, I don't know, I think it's the side. When you click on the eye, it'll give you a list of all of them. And that way you can go and watch more specifically about borders. And I would encourage it, because if once you get that done, it'll really truly help to not get those wavy borders. And I don't measure my quilt for my borders, okay? I do that whole lining it up in the center. It's so important that you take the time. Now, some people do, they measure the top, they measure a partial in the bottom, and they measure the center, and they divide by 3. I don't do any of that. I just do a straight down the center, and I actually lay my border out to be able to see how that works. And then I will tell you, and I didn't share this before, and I think I do in that video that I talked more about the video. If, let's say you lay out your strip, okay, whether it's one piece of fabric or your piano border, when you lay out that strip down the middle and you make that cut, right? When you go to put it on the edge that it goes to, if your border is shorter, sew it on top. If your border is longer, put it on the bottom. And the reason I'm encouraging that is because what that'll do is it will allow the feed dogs to help ease in that fabric, that extra fabric. I actually have, I don't know where it's at. I actually did one of my borders where I should have put it on top, no, on the bottom, and I didn't. And I got a little bit of a pucker, but I don't see it. So it'll probably quilt out. In that way, we always say, it'll just quilt out. But that's why you want to do that, because it helps ease all that extra fabric in. And it will help you get nice, pretty borders. So I wanted to encourage that. Okay, so this I hope was helpful. Again, questions, comments, concern, drop them down below. I did talk at the beginning that we were going to do a small giveaway. We're going to give away $25 to our gift shop in a gift certificate. We're going to send out a gift certificate to the winner. I know that's small, but we're just starting. I mean, this is the first bridge. We haven't decided what the next bridge is when we'll do another giveaway for climbing that ladder of subscribers. But here's all we ask you to do. In the comments below, if you use the word inspire or any form of it, so inspire, inspired, inspires, or inspiration, if you use any one of those kinds of words in the comment, we'll put you in the running, and we will use a random generator. I'll have my tech guy go ahead and pull a random person to win. And then next week, which I'm going to talk about in a second, we will announce who the winner is. Okay. So in the comments, whatever your comment is, just use inspire, inspired, inspires, or inspiration in your comment, and you'll be in the drawing for $25 gift certificate. So that'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun. And again, it's our way of saying thank you, because we wouldn't be here without you. I mean, yeah, anybody can buy a bunch of fabric, and anybody buy a bunch of notions, and anybody can, you know, do YouTube videos, but it doesn't mean a darn clicking thing unless you have support. And without you guys, we truly would not be here. So thank you. Truly, thank you. From the Halo team, we can't even begin to tell you how much we appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about next week real quick. Next week is going to be a little different. I'm going to come on YouTube live. And I'm not making nothing, but I'd love for you to come out and chit chat for a bit. And it's my way, because eventually, instead of doing a 3 o'clock Facebook live every week, I want to be able to come on and go to both platforms at the same time, because I do have some people who subscribe to YouTube and some people who are Facebookers. And this way we make sure we deliver that full picture by grabbing both. So we're doing a little experimenting and I'm going live on YouTube next Wednesday and we will do it. I forget what time it is. I will make sure to drop a post in the community. There's a tab in YouTube that has like community. I'll make sure to drop a picture out there to let you know specifically what time it is, because I forget. Because it's not going to be 11 because it's too early for my tech guys. So it might be, I'm not even going to say. I will let you know, I promise, before we go live, what time that live will be. Okay. But I'll be here live on YouTube. I hope you stop by and say hello. But in the meantime, I will tell you that we will be on live today at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I want to forewarn you, they are working on a chimney and things are a little loud and obnoxious. I'm hoping you won't hear any of that. But we do have some construction zone up there, over there going on. So, I'm hoping you won't hear any of it, but I just want to forewarn you, it won't drown us out. It'll just be in the background a little bit. It's not that bad. So, because it's not the chimney that's in the other room behind me. Not yet. That's coming. So, at any rate, I will be on Facebook live at 3 p.m. Eastern. Oh, I said daylight time, didn't I? We had a time change. It is Eastern Standard Time now. That's my time because I'm here in Virginia. So I hope you'll join us 3 p.m. Eastern time. And so if you're Central, it's an hour behind. You know, that way you can do the math. Oh, I just said the M word. No more math, Angel. No more math. We've done enough math today. But I will definitely see you then. I will see you next week. And we will definitely announce who the winner is of that $25 gift card. Yes. But until next time, guys, may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful. Never stop believing and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy Wednesday. Happy quilting. See y'all soon.